This painting is about pain, and it is the seventh part of my 12-part series that I am calling Hymns on Humanity. And in this series, I cover topics on humanity that range from peace, silence, burden, existentialism, and now pain. When I think of pain in this specific instance, I am not talking of pain that is accidental or meaningless, but pain as something willingly carried for the sake of another. It reflects a part of the human condition that is often ignored or avoided in modern life. The truth that love, in its deepest form, requires sacrifice. At the center of this work is the image of a pelican. You might wonder why this pelican is symbolic of it, but it is a symbol drawn from iconography and Christian medieval stained glass traditions. In symbolism, Christianity in particular, the pelican was believed to wound its own breast to feed its young. When there's no other forms of nourishment, this is all that was available. Whether accurate or not to why a pelican does this biologically, the symbol endured because of what it communicated. It loves so complete that it gives itself away, even at a great personal cost. This image mirrored the sacrifice of Christ, not just in the act of suffering, but the intention behind it. The pelican doesn't bleed in despair or punishment, but it bleeds in love, voluntarily and meaningfully. That distinction is essential to understanding this piece. The composition borrows from stained glass and icon paintings. The bold outlines, flattened perspective, and radiance, almost unreal colors, are meant to evoke a sacred space rather than a literal one. This is obviously not a naturalistic depiction, but as an icon, an image meant to be contemplated rather than merely observed. The circular rhythm and forms behind the figure suggest a halo, not only of sanctifying the figure, but placing suffering within a divine framework. The warm oranges and gold echo traditional depictions of light, a main focus within my work on matter of fact, while the reds and purples within the border speak to both royalty and blood, glory and sacrifice coexisting. This duality is central to the meaning of the painting. At the base of the pelican are its younglings, small, dependent, cute, unaware of the full cost of what they are receiving. This reflects a very difficult truth about sacrifice. Those who benefit from it are not always aware of the pain endured on their behalf, yet it is given freely. This is not only a religious image, it is a human one. The pelican becomes a mirror for parents, caregivers, laborers, artists, anyone who has ever poured themselves out for another person. It speaks to the quiet sacrifices made every day that go unseen, unrecognized, and often unthanked. Sacrifices that are not dramatic or public, but essential and quiet. In contemporary culture, suffering is frequently treated as something to be eliminated at all cost. Pain is seen as a failure, an injustice, or an error in the system. This painting challenges that perspective, not by glorifying pain, obviously, but by asking what pain can mean when it is chosen in love. There is a difference between meaningless suffering and redemptive suffering. This work exists in that tension. The wound on the pelican is not hidden, but neither is it grotesque. It is stylized, symbolic, and restrained. The goal is to not shock, but reverence. The influence of Christian iconography is intentional because icons were never meant to be decorative. There were windows into invitations into contemplation, humility, and moral reflection. And in that same spirit, this painting asks the viewer to slow down and reflect on what has been given to them by others, often at great cost. The pelican does not look outward towards the viewer in accusation. It looks inward, downward, attentive to those in its care. This posture reflects a kind of love that does not seek recognition, a love that simply acts because it must. On a personal level, this painting is also about the artist's role. To create something meaningful often requires emotional exposure, discipline, and vulnerability. Art itself can be a form of self-wounding, not in a destructive sense, of course, but in the sense of giving something of yourself away, knowing you cannot take it back. There is a faith embedded in that act, faith that the offering matters, faith that the sacrifice is not wasted, faith that meaning can emerge from pain when it is aligned with love and truth. Ultimately, this painting is not meant to provide answers, it is meant to hold a question. What are we willing to give of ourselves for the sake of others? And what does it mean to live in a way where people suffering is not pointless but purposeful? The pelican stands as a symbol of that question, ancient, enduring, and unsettling. It reminds us that the deepest forms of love are rarely comfortable, rarely efficient, and rarely easy, but they are perhaps the most sacred. All right, guys, this is the finished piece. I want to thank you for sticking around as long as you did for the video. Hymns of Humanity is really important to me. It just kind of does, it kind of explains the undertones of human existence, theology, psychology, existentialism, and everything. And yeah, I really enjoyed making this piece. It was challenging. I don't really do many birds. Um, I say that, but uh, another piece that I did was of a bird too. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. Click the like button, subscribe, do all that. You can get t-shirts like this on my website. That is www.torchesart.com. And yeah, stick around for some more videos. Thank you.